Hi, I'm Doc Slavkowski, and this is the Art Zone. We're coming to you from the heart of the city's cultural district, downtown Rockford, at J.R. Kortman Center for Design. Louis Recchia, along with wife Zoa Ace, are two of America's most prolific contemporary artists. But then again, they have to be. Their work is seen in galleries from New York to California. Dennis Horton gets reactions to their Kortman Gallery opening. Artist-photographer Valerie Olafson talks about her ongoing photography project to be featured in this year's 1993 Art Scene. Then a new segment for the Art Zone called Collections. We'll pay a visit to the home of artists Bob and Marlene McCauley to take a look at their fascinating and intriguing art collection. Then finally, we'll visit the Paris studio of internationally known magazine illustrator Federico Botana.
When I was a kid, a long time ago, someone once said to me that art is a feeling. Well, I'm not sure I knew then what that meant, but I think I might now. Art can make you happy, sad, or mad. Well, the emotions of art were certainly apparent during the opening for the works of Zoa Ace and Louis Recchia at J.R. Kortman Center for Design.
These guys, there's a profit margin loss.
I don't know whose idea it was to do this.
Well, it was Charlie Stokes and John Oldie.
Well, the extremes, the cat and the nude couple, I think, kind of conflict. But that goes to the issue of fun. That it doesn't tickle me is my problem, not the artist's problem. It's a very nice piece.
I think it's fun. It makes you laugh. It does. It makes you smile. It's great. I want that. I may just walk out with that.
The one right here?
The Moonlighter.
What's the great thing about it for you?
The red dress, his hand, where his hand is, and what he looks like. And the buttons on the frame, right? Oh, I think it's wonderful.
You have a favorite piece, Joe?
I think my favorite piece is this.
Zoa's work.
Right.
I think seeing both of their styles, I see how they interact one upon the other, because I see in some of these paintings of Louis's that they've incorporated some of the techniques that Zoa uses in her work. Placing animal heads on human bodies and that sort of thing was something that I thought she did more than he did.
Is this show, and I don't see that in the things that she's done for this show, is this different than what she normally does?
They do two kinds of painting. They do this kind of painting for commercial use, but their main painting is for collectors and museums, and normally they're quite large in size, maybe 5 by 9, or museum or collector types of paintings. But the figures, like you see here, are expressionistic and stylized, and they have the same kind of figures in their painting.
You know, it just overflows with imagination, his work, the way he decorates the frames and embellishes them with all sorts of unusual objects, from seashells to spoons to little toys and things, and it's so whimsical, and it makes you sort of imagine a lot of different things in his work. And I think there's a basic theme in most of the pictures. If you look at the title, Feline Illusion, here you have the cat, the cat-like face, and also some of his wife's work, has a certain thematic message in the work. It's humorous, it's whimsical, and at the same time you feel, yeah, she's trying to say something here with this, like the mixed vegetables and the Barbie dolls. I think both their work sort of points out sort of the artificiality of today's world and sort of pokes fun at contemporary conventions and expectations of what life and people are supposed to be.
Why photography?
Because I think you can capture things with the camera that you cannot capture with the naked eye. And I think when you take you can do a painting of someone that is really a nice painting of the person, and you can do a nice photograph of someone, of course, but you can also take a photograph of someone and it really be that person. And you see a lot in it.
How would you describe your photographs? I mean, if you were going to tell somebody what your photographs look like, or what are you trying to achieve a certain look? Especially, let's concentrate on this show. Let's talk about this show.
Well, first off, all of my work is in black and white. I prefer black and white. I think you get more, you can achieve a greater degree of subtlety. And maybe that's a contradiction in terms, I don't know. But black and white photographs are more subtle than color. Color, I think, has a tendency to be brash and works well when it's used correctly, but can also have a tendency to look snapshot-ish. Okay, for me, you take a sip of coffee. Me? Gentlemen, take a sip of coffee. Girl looking at My show is about people. It just so happens that all these people come up to the cafe because I like shooting or seeing the uniqueness of every individual, and that's mainly what my photographs are about everyone is unique and different and beautiful in their own way. It just so happens that all these people happen up at the cafe, and I like that. I like shooting there because the diversity that it draws. No one's tried to hit me over the head. People have asked for prints or they've been really anxious about it. People like to have their picture taken. For the most part, I will say people like to have their picture taken. We had with the night that we set up where I said, be a part of the art. Come here and have your picture taken. People came dressed to the nines. And then I said, can I take a picture? Oh, no. Not me. But they wanted that picture taken.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, people have been excited about it because they are a part of the art. Everybody is different in different places, and that's one of the reasons I want to shoot everyone up at the cafe, because I think in a nightclub cafe atmosphere, people act differently than if I was to shoot them, say, on the street or in their home or in their office. And I think that has to be brought into the photograph, because then it helps you realize why the person is dressed like that or standing like that or has that attitude. So I want that to be seen in the photographs. And I also want people to get a feeling of, yes, this person is an individual, but an understanding of that person through the photograph. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciating them as photographs and not coming up to me and saying, oh, that's a pretty picture. You know, getting a sense of an understanding as photography as art. not just taking pictures, but making pictures and making the art.
That's very good.
Well, collecting is sort of a, there are all kinds of motivations for it, and I think one of them is poverty. I think some of the things that we've collected here have been pieces of things that mean a lot to us, but for some reason or another we haven't, they're not like prime things, but they are bits and pieces of our lives or things that have touched our lives, and we've brought them into this house. Over the course of years then, maybe you had some insight, and the things that you picked up years ago have become sort of important to other people now. It's a strange thing. It's like you actually influence taste in some way. It's a, you don't start out intending to do that, but by the things that you look at and both of us sort of share our feelings about, after some period of time, then you realize other people are also attracted to these things. So you start out almost alone and isolated, and you end up with some kind of a consensus feeling or a kind of undercurrent of feeling with other people. You get connected to people through objects. I don't think I can't think of a piece in this house that wasn't some kind of cooperative vision. I think Marlene has taught me a lot about things, about objects, and I've learned a great deal from her eye. Well, I just think that you grow when you're working like this with someone else, when you're working on collecting things or when you're attracted to things, and you actually extend the boundaries of what you consider to be important things or objects that have some kind of presence to you. And so I guess in a sense you could say it's developing a taste squared. It almost compounds itself.
You fall in love with a piece and you work it in wherever you can. We have pieces in the bathroom. Every place you can think to put a piece will work. I think that's the fun of it. They're so different.
And
you put.
Would you say that you participate too by placement, right? Would that have something to do with it? I mean, like.
Yeah, placement is tough. You wouldn't know it by looking at this house, but both of us have an aversion to change, and so it's sort of like moving a grain of sand in this house. You bring one more thing in, or if you move one thing, the whole thing is up for grabs, and we go into a panic. It's a very distressful kind of time for us. I do think that we have, on occasion, not brought things home because of primarily of size. We've never done it out of a kind of censoring, like, oh, if we put that in the house, someone's going to really come down hard on us.
Well, we love animals, so a lot of our imagery has animals, but that isn't always the case either. And we love, we're from the Northwest originally. We've been here now for 20 years, but we're still affected by the things that we grew up around in the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest. So we have a lot of Indian artifacts and Indian rugs and just things that remind us of things that touches us, that touches your lives and your memories of your childhood or something like that.
The skeleton, that's a piece that I did a few years ago. Those are piano keys for a rib cage, and he's climbing an oar. And let's see, what is the description? Something like the wind gets higher, the wind gets stronger, the waves get higher, and I don't know, something about being lost at sea, I think. The thing about skeletons, Doc, you'll see a lot of skeletons in this house, and in the closet, or whatever, but they have a different feeling for us, and I think that what Marlene does with snakes, in a sense, is what we try to do with skeletons, is to make people think about things in a different way. She makes snakes, makes snakes so that people think about them as an animal that's worth caring for, and not see it in that other way. And with skeletons, it's sort of like the Mexican culture, thinking about skeletons as, or even the Northwest Coast Indians, where the bones were the keepers of the soul. And we have this horrific notion about skeletons in this culture. And so we see them differently, and we see them almost humorously sometimes. And I suppose if you were to ask me to travel light, if I could only take one piece with me somewhere, it would have to be the dustpan up there. To me, it's probably the most important piece for me, and that's a tough thing to say because we are really connected to a lot of these things. That piece is by H.C. Westerman. He was a Chicago artist and died in the early 80s. Westerman is probably one of the most influential artists for me, and this is something that he actually made, and his hand has touched it. So periodically I get it down and I touch it and I put it in my hand, and I haven't swept dust up in it yet. I haven't taken it that far, but I like the notion that one of my favorite pieces is just merely a dustpan. And my whole education in art has been that art is of a lower brow, it's a lower brow thing, and it's more connected to people every day and everyday existence. And that dustpan speaks to me in a couple of ways like that.
But right here down by my feet, I noticed there are dog prints, and these are probably not from Rainier, right? Well, explain about this. The floor is very fascinating.
Well, these are Mexican tiles, and the clay is cut and left to dry in villages, small villages, and they have no way of keeping animals or children away from the clay as it dries. So overnight, animals may run through it, children may play with it. We have dog prints. There's a chicken print in one of them. On the underside of one of the tiles is a little child's handprint. When we did get the tile, we had them go through as many boxes as possible to get as many eccentric tiles as we could. They were glad to see us. We were glad to see them. It was a mutual understanding.
Now, this room does have a little bit of a different feel, though, from the rest of the house, and it does have would I be wrong in saying it's a sort of Mexican influence in here, or Southwest, or?
You're right. Yeah, we do love all of the Mexican Southwest influence. That's why we put our little masks here in our kitchen. And I think the floor set the pace. We started out with the floor, and then we thought, this would be a good place to put our masks. And they just start bringing in more things from it.
Men and women, sex and power.
Squeaky hinges, garage door runners, sewing machines, tools, clippers, reels, bicycles, lawnmowers.
Negroes, beatniks, eccentrics, radicals.
Beef, a vegetable, minerals, milk solids, vitamins.
Food and clothing and medicine and cash.
Goats.
Grief, pain, damage, hopelessness.
Beans and peas, barley and lentils, oats and psyllium.
School, country, and civil rights.
Cracks and holes, rotted posts, flaws in plywood, furniture repairs, loose screws, even tree surgery.
The Art Zone now takes you to Paris to visit with Federico Botana, internationally recognized magazine illustrator. Federico, born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, has been living and working in Paris since 1979. His works were seen in Rockford at the Kortman Gallery in the summer of 1992. After a brief tour of his apartment and an introduction to his cat, Federico took us into his studio to talk about his work.
Well,
Well, now I'm going to take you to my studio. So, please.
So, this is your studio.
This is the place where I work in.
And tell us about the room. First of all, it looks like you've done things to the room.
To tell you the truth, I was lazy just to paint. I should have painted paper. There was paper stick on the walls, and the paper was not in a very good condition, so I should have rip off the paper out and paint and stuff. So I did that because I was lazy and I didn't want to paint.
What's interesting is the room is done like in your style. I mean, it's almost like your drawing. Splendid work environment is truly an artist's dream. Walking into his studio is almost like stepping inside one of his illustrations. What's the inspiration for this? Using those.
I think it's almost like somebody's. That's from a series where you may have there like 4 or 5. I don't remember how much you have, but you have like some other interiors. It's a series of interiors, and that's for a calendar that's going to be printed in Japan for a company calendar.
How do you get jobs? And I mean, you're in Japanese magazines, American magazines. Created to illustrate the text, covers, and advertisement of a diversity of magazines such as Cosmopolitan, Glamour, Playboy, New York, among others, the drawings of Federico stand by themselves as enthralling and amusing images of the current nuances of human comedy. The style of Botana reflects a mood of his own mind that attracts our attention for its surprises, flexibility, and remarkable technique. The lines and forms are fluid and effortless, with imaginative details that enhance the feelings and fancies of the design. The colors are reminiscent of Matisse and Dufy, but with a different rhythm, fast and contrasting, that show the composition with a lively tone. But beyond their artistic values, what makes the works of Botana outstanding is his creative and amusing concept of representation.